poll numbers with African Americans and with Hispanic Americans. But, you know, I'm not that surprised because I see it. I feel it.
In his effort to take back the White House, former President Trump is turning to black voters who, according to the polls, are losing confidence in President Biden. An AP poll shows 50% of black adults approve of Biden, but that is a 36% drop from 3 years ago. Just a quarter of respondents say they view Trump in a favorable light, but he is actively working to boost that support with help from black Republican leaders. Senator Tim Scott, for example, has been on the campaign trail with Trump as one of his biggest advocates. He's also rumored perhaps to be on the short list to be a running mate. Ben Carson, former member of Trump's cabinet, also in the rumor mill to be VP, and even Snoop Dogg has said, quote, he has nothing but love and respect for Donald Trump. All of it's interesting. Pastor Marc Little joining us now with more on this trend. He has prayed over the former president during his time in the Oval Office and is a strong advocate for the former president and his re-election bid. Let me just give you 20 seconds, 30 seconds to talk about why you are such a strong supporter of former President Trump.
Good morning. It's good to be with you. You know, unfortunately, President Biden is really highlighting why President Trump is the better choice. When we look back for black voters, we recall that he did the First Step Act, which many presidents tried to do and failed. That released over a couple thousand black prisoners from federal prison. He also was able to help HBCUs, some of which were failing, by giving long-term funding, and he waived about $250,000 in debt to HBCUs. And then let's not forget the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which gave us the economy that he had, which was the best in our history until COVID hit. And the Tax Cuts Jobs Act also gave us opportunity zones, which were focused on the inner cities. And finally, we know that President Obama's Civil Rights Commission said that illegal immigration impacts disproportionately black workers. And President Trump, despite not getting Mexico to pay for the wall, he did stop illegal immigration. We had the lowest illegal immigration in recent history. So all of those things make President Trump, his record, very attractive. We know that he got 20% of black men in 2020. And just about 14% of black women. If he continues on the trajectory that you just shared with us, it will be a landslide because the black vote can, in fact, put him over.
I mean, the polls, the narrative right now, and we all know polls can be wrong. Sometimes they're spot on, so you never know. But polls do show support amongst people of color and amongst young people kind of sliding away from President Biden right now. A long way to the election, but that's where we are as we talk today. I hear you made some economic points. You made some educational points. But at first blush, it is striking. Let's be honest. Most African Americans are Democrats. They vote for fellow Democrats, particularly in national elections, particularly for president. And Donald Trump does have an interesting history, to put it mildly, when it comes to people of color, being sued successfully years ago for discrimination, very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville, having the least diverse cabinet in modern presidential history, S-hole countries referring to Africa, the birther movement with Obama. How are you able to reconcile some of that with the points you just made?
Thank you so much. First, I'd like to say that when we list those things that are negatives, look, I didn't like the way he swung the golf ball, but I like the way the ball landed. I like where it landed. But a lot of what you mentioned, like Charlottesville, they never played the whole tape of what he said. In fact, he said, I'm not talking about, he wasn't making a racial comment. And nobody ever plays the full comment. And the S-hole comment with Africa is so funny because some of the African leaders said, well, he's right. And so we just have to vote our interests. That's, I think, what we're now facing. We have to vote our interests. And if somebody has a checkered past, like Joe Biden, who called black people super predators, you have to look at policies and determine which of those policies are going to help you and your family. I think that's where we are now.
As a pastor, how do you kind of reconcile the role in the religious realm and in the political realm? Is this a message that you take to parishioners as well, or are you acting more independently? And how active do you intend to be as we get closer and closer to this election?
I'm always going to put my biblical worldview first, and I believe very strongly from Matthew 5:13 through 16 that politics and religion are not separate. We are called to push against the culture as salt and light. And so it's important that everyone understand that I'm first leading with a biblical worldview. We're not electing a pastor, but we are electing someone who will best represent our interests, both economically and as a matter of faith. And Donald Trump promised that he would elect Supreme Court justices that would further some of the things that are really important to people like me. I have an abortion miscarriage recovery ministry, so protecting life in the womb was one of my primary issues, and he followed through on that. And so those are some of the things that we've got to look to as we go forward. What are people of faith looking for, and who can best carry that water? Unfortunately, Joe Biden, who was a friend of my father's, said he was a Catholic, but yet he is very, very much pro murdering children in the womb. And so we've got to be consistent with our values as we go to the ballot box.
And before we let you go, let me just, because I think it helps contextualize a conversation and unfortunately is a litmus test these days. Do you believe the 2020 election was free and fair and that Joe Biden is the legitimate president of the United States?
Well, look, when President Trump was elected, Hillary Clinton on down said he was illegitimate. So I don't want to get into whether or not the election was stolen. I didn't see evidence. What I do know is the world watched on the night of that election. The world watched 3 states stop all simultaneously at the same time. We've never seen that before. I can say that certainly something was amiss. I can't say that it was stolen, but certainly there was some tampering. And but we have what we have, and now what we have to do is move past the 2020 election and look to our future. We're on the verge of World War III, and who is best to lead this country and stand in strength to keep Americans safe? Right now, we've got an invasion at our southern border. It seems to be intentional. I would submit that that should be considered a violation of someone's oath of office, perhaps Joe Biden. And we've got to protect this country. We've got to protect our families, and we have to get back to being prosperous. And I think Donald Trump, at the moment, is the best person to do that.
Okay. And again, no evidence of widespread voter fraud in that election, but we know people have their opinions. Pastor Marc Little, thanks for your time and for a unique perspective on this. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.